What if I told you that the traditional money advice everyone follows is completely wrong for building real wealth? While most people cling to outdated financial rules that keep them broke, the top 1% uses a completely different system that nobody talks about. Today, I'm revealing the money management strategy that separates the wealthy from everyone else, and why the rule you've been taught your entire life is actually sabotaging your financial future. Most financial experts still preach the 50-30-20 rule like it's gospel. 50% for needs, 30% for wants, 20% for savings. Sounds reasonable, right? Well, here's the brutal truth nobody wants to admit. This rule is completely dead in today's economy, and following it will keep you struggling forever. Think about it. When was the last time you could actually keep your essential expenses under 50% of your income? With rent prices through the roof, groceries costing more than a fancy dinner used to, and everything from gas to healthcare skyrocketing, that 50% target isn't just unrealistic, it's financially dangerous. In cities like San Francisco, just renting a basic studio apartment costs over $2,000 a month. Add utilities, food, and transportation, and you're looking at $3,000 minimum just to survive. To keep that under 50%, you need to make over $100,000 a year after taxes. That's insane. Here's what financial advisors won't tell you. Most Americans are already spending 60 to 65% of their income on basic needs. They're not living lavishly or being irresponsible. They're just trying to survive in an economy where everything costs more but wages haven't kept up. So when these so-called experts tell you to stick to the 50-30-20 rule, they're essentially telling you to live in a fantasy world that doesn't exist anymore. The wealthy figured this out years ago. While everyone else struggles with outdated advice, they've quietly shifted to what I call the 60-30-10 rule. This isn't just some minor adjustment, it's a completely different philosophy that acknowledges economic reality while still building massive wealth. The top 1% doesn't waste time pretending they can live on 50% for needs. Instead, they allocate 60% to necessities. But here's the key. They're strategic about what counts as a necessity. Let me break down how the wealthy think about that 60%. Housing is obviously essential, but they don't just pick any place. They choose housing that serves multiple purposes, maybe building equity or positioning them in areas with strong appreciation potential. They include utilities because you can't function without power and water, but they optimize these costs relentlessly. Healthcare is non-negotiable because, as they say, health is wealth. Without good health, nothing else matters. Transportation is necessary, but they buy reliable used cars instead of flashy new ones that lose value the moment you drive off the lot. The crucial difference is that wealthy people include minimum debt payments in their needs category. Why? Because maintaining good credit is essential for building wealth. Bad credit closes doors and costs you thousands in higher interest rates. Your credit score affects everything from mortgage rates to insurance premiums, so protecting it isn't optional, it's strategic. But here's where it gets interesting. That 30% for wants isn't just about having fun, though enjoying life is important. Wealthy people are surgical about their discretionary spending. They'll buy quality clothing that lasts instead of cheap stuff they have to replace constantly. They'll invest in experiences that build relationships or skills. They might get that gym membership or personal trainer because physical health directly impacts their earning potential. They're not being frivolous, they're being intentional. This is where most people mess up. They think wealthy people either never spend money or blow it on stupid stuff. The reality is they spend purposefully. Every dollar in that 30% category serves a function, whether it's building relationships, maintaining their health, or investing in their personal development. They might go out to nice restaurants, but it's often for business networking or celebrating achievements that advance their goals. Now, here's the part that might shock you. The wealthy only allocate 10% to savings and investing, down from the traditional 20%. You're probably thinking that sounds crazy, right? How can you build wealth saving less? This is where the magic happens and why this rule is so powerful. Here's the mathematical truth that will blow your mind. Someone who starts investing just 10% of their income at age 25, earning $50,000 a year, will have over $1.3 million by retirement. That's assuming they never get a raise, never increase their income, and just consistently invest 10% with an 8% return. Even with this reduced savings rate, they'll have more money than they need for a comfortable retirement. But wait, it gets better. The wealthy understand that the 60-30-10 rule isn't a prison, it's a foundation. As your income grows, the real wealth building begins. Instead of inflating their lifestyle proportionally, they keep their needs and wants relatively stable and pour the extra income into investments. So that 10% might become 15, then 20, then 30% as their earnings increase. They use lifestyle inflation as their enemy, not their friend. Think about it this way. If you get a $10,000 raise and keep your needs and wants exactly the same, that entire $10,000 goes to wealth building. Suddenly your 10% becomes 15 or 20% without feeling any different. This is how millionaires are made. They don't necessarily start rich, they start smart about handling income growth. The average American saves less than 4% of their income. By hitting 10% consistently, you're already beating most of the population. But the wealthy take it further. They understand that this rule is a starting point, not an end point. Every raise, bonus, or new income stream becomes an opportunity to accelerate wealth building without sacrificing their quality of life. Here's another secret the wealthy know that nobody teaches. High income doesn't automatically equal high wealth. You can make $1 million a year and still be broke if you spend $990,000 of it. Meanwhile, someone making $100,000 who spends only $80,000 has $20,000 to invest. Guess who builds more wealth over time? The person with lower income but higher savings rate. The wealthy also have specific habits that multiply the effectiveness of this rule. They don't overspend just because they can afford to. They buy certified pre-owned cars instead of brand new ones. They hunt for deals on vacations and might upgrade to economy. Plus, instead of first class, they keep their phones until they stop working instead of upgrading every year. These aren't signs of being cheap, they're signs of being smart about where money creates value. When it comes to investing that 10%, the wealthy keep it simple and effective. They prioritize tax-advantaged accounts first, especially retirement accounts that let money grow without being eaten alive by taxes. They invest in low-cost, broadly diversified index funds that track the overall market. No fancy stock picking, no get-rich-quick schemes, just consistent investing in funds that grow with the economy. For younger investors, something like an S&P 500 index fund works perfectly. You're buying a tiny piece of the 500 largest companies in America. When the economy grows, you grow with it. When businesses profit, you profit. It's simple, effective, and historically reliable. The wealthy don't try to beat the market, they become the market. Here's the critical insight that changes everything. This rule adapts to economic reality while still building wealth. Instead of forcing you into an impossible budget that makes you feel like a failure, it acknowledges that life costs more than it used to. But it also provides a clear path to wealth building that actually works in the real world. The 60-30-10 rule isn't just about percentages, it's about mindset. It's about being realistic about your needs, intentional about your wants, and consistent about your investing. It's about understanding that wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint, and that small, consistent actions compound into massive results over time. Most people never build wealth because they're trying to follow rules designed for an economy that no longer exists. They beat themselves up for spending 60% on needs when that's actually perfectly normal and necessary. They give up on investing because they can't hit that 20% savings target. The 60-30-10 rule meets you where you are and gives you a realistic path forward. Remember, even the wealthiest people started somewhere. They didn't begin with unlimited money. They began with smart systems. The 60-30-10 rule is that system. It acknowledges reality, builds wealth consistently, and adapts as your income grows. Most importantly, it works in today's economy, not some fantasy version from decades ago. Start implementing this rule today, even if your numbers aren't perfect. Focus on being intentional with your spending, consistent with your investing, and patient with your results. The compound effect of these habits over time is how ordinary people build extraordinary wealth. The top 1% aren't using secret investment strategies or insider information. They're just following better rules and sticking to them consistently. Like, your financial future isn't determined by how much you make right now. It's determined by how smart you are with what you have and how consistent you are with your wealth building habits. The 60-30-10 rule gives you both the framework and the flexibility to build real wealth in the real world. If you found this helpful, give the video a like and subscribe for more money wisdom with me, Wally the Wise.